Ladies and gentlemen, we have an earnings challenge here today. We're going to talk about my favorite bullish stocks for next week, August 23rd to 27th. I'm going to go through them all. And the earnings challenge is this. If I were to buy the stock at the closing price right before the report, whether they're reporting that evening or the next morning, can you sell it the next morning? Basically buying it right before 4 p.m. and selling it right after 9:30 a.m. with the closing and opening price and make money if you were to take all these trades. We're going to find out. I'm going to share all of them with you. I am Mark Melnick, and this is the Newsbeat Show. Following Newsbeat Show has been brought to you by T3 Live. Thank you for reading the disclaimer. Also, if you would like more free attendees, you could find all the names in which I'm going to talk about today in the description of this video, alongside a free ebook, How to Overcome Psychological Toxicity in Your Trading. It's all absolutely free. Take advantage of it today. Okay, so let's go right into the names. We're going to start off with Tuesday before the open. And again, if you want the list of names, it is in the description of this video. And to start off, we're going to go into Advanced Auto Parts. And this is a little bit of an interesting name that, a lot of people, they try to interpret it, well, how does this work exactly? Are people really going to auto parts stores in this economy? A lot of people are working from home. The truth is people need to go out more than ever because what people don't realize, or maybe they do, is that during times where people are working from home, you're actually going out with your car more often than you would if you were to drive to work. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get the same amount of drive time. I'm saying you're going to go out more often because in this economy where people are looking to save money, a lot of people are doing pickup, a lot of people are doing DoorDash. You get really a lot more traffic on the road. It's kind of crazy because 12 months ago, you could drive from Jersey to Manhattan and pretty much see absolutely, I don't want to say no cars, but like there's absolutely no traffic. Like you're not sitting there and stop and go. We are fully back to stop and go traffic. New York, New Jersey, it is just a thing. You are just back to traffic. People are going out again, despite all the people who work from home. Even in the mornings, I talk to people. I work from home. Um, it's just swamped. They last reported on June 2nd, $3.34 versus the 308 expected. And you could see even on June 2nd, they gapped it up a little, just a dollar here, yanked it back a little. This is where their last earnings report was, and then they dragged it all the way back up. They raised their fiscal year 21 revenue guidance during June 2nd, which was the last earnings report. 10.4 to 10.6 billion. That's a raise from 10.2 to 10.4 billion. So basically saying their low end of the estimate was the prior high end of the estimate of 10.4 and gave themselves a little more room to the upside. And given the way the economy has been progressing since June, I think AAP will be bullish into earnings. I think the numbers are going to be good. Remember my challenge. I'm basically saying if you try equal dollar amounts in all these names, will you become will you make money if you buy it at the closing price and sell it at the opening price? No strategies, no technicals, no management, just simply buy the close, sell at the open. That is going to be the complete mentality of this challenge that I'm doing, and I'm going to join in on the challenge. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm just showing you what I'm doing before it happens. Now, remember, just so you understand, I am buying it. Right now, I'm up to Tuesday before the open. Okay. So I'm going to make it, um, if it's Tuesday before the open, I have to buy it Monday. I have to buy it Monday before the close. So I'm going to go ahead and just set that up for you so it's not confusing. I'm not talking about buying all these names on Monday morning or Monday at the close, but Tuesday before the open, AAP is going to be that. So I have to buy it the day before it reports and then sell it at the open. So this is all the challenges. Buy at the closing price versus opening price. People might get different numbers if they don't put in certain orders, but that is how I'm going to judge the challenge, just so we're clear. And we're going to move on to the next name on my list, and that's going to be Intuit, INTU. Very expensive name over here. They last reported on May 25th. They actually missed. They reported $6.07 versus the 6.47 expected. So they missed it by 40 cents. You're probably wondering why am I bullish, but I'll get to that. 4.17 billion missed the 4.41 billion expected, and this all happened on May 25th. But um, again, just so we're clear, the stock opened up just $1 higher the next day. Nothing major for a $500 name. So, and again, I understand some of these names might be expensive for some people. I'm not doing options in these, just so we're clear. This is going to be all common stock for me simply because if we get a small gap up and you buy calls, you might lose money. I don't want to deal with that. So let's say you were trying like $10,000 or 5,000 or 20,000, whatever number that you're at. If you were to do $10,000 and the stock was closing, let's say at $545, that would allow you to take about 18 shares, just so we're clear on how the math works on these. But what happened back on May 25th is they gave guidance for this coming quarter right now. They said that they're going to make $1.55 to $1.60. That is way, way ahead of the 34 cents expected. They also raised their earnings per share view, $9.32 to 9.37. That's a raise from 6.75 to 6.85. They raised their revenue view it's just such a tremendous raise that this company did. They are literally crazy glued. It literally hit all-time highs on Friday at 549.68. I am going to be bullish on Intuit into earnings. And that's, of course, going to be Tuesday before the open. Next is going to be Wednesday before the open, which pretty much means I would have to buy this on Tuesday before the close on the next one, just trying to keep everything, so you guys understand that I'm buying it right before they report, not days earlier, for better or worse. Just explaining how the challenge works. And this next stock I really love, and this might surprise some people, but this stock, I think the numbers are going to be phenomenal. And I'm actually talking about Dick's Sporting Goods. That's Delta Kilo Sandy, DKS. On their last earnings report on May 26th, they announced $3.79, crushed the $1.12 expected. 2.92 billion crushes the 2.18 billion expected. I think kids are getting out there. I think sports are a real thing. I just want to show you how the stock gapped up. This was the actual gap up last time on Dick's. They closed at 84.17, opened up at $93. Look at that. Beautiful gap up. And they raised their fiscal year 21 EPS, $8 to 8.70. That's a raise from 4.40 to 5.20. So these companies are well above the curve. These companies are just well above the curve. It's going to be more of a retail week coming in. You have like lots of names reporting that are not on my list, like JW Nordstrom, Express is reporting. You got all these retail names reporting, Dick's Sporting Goods. To me, being one of the cream of the crops here. And again, just because they announce good numbers doesn't mean it'll gap up or down. They can announce bad numbers, gap up, and vice versa. So it's all an odds game, obviously. But I think the Dick's Sporting Good numbers are going to be phenomenal. I would not be surprised to see this stock at all-time highs. And they are, of course, reporting Wednesday before the close. So that's going to be DKS. And remember, just so we're clear, all these names on my list today are bullish. That is more of a coincidence than anything, but that's just the way it works. Now, we're going to talk about Wednesday after the close. So on Wednesday after the close, you have to buy it literally if you're trying to do what I can't legally tell you to buy anything, but you have to literally buy it Wednesday before the close if they're announcing Wednesday after the close. And the next stock on my list that I'm going to talk about is CRM, and that's Salesforce.com, which is interesting, especially in an environment where so many people are doing e-sales and working from home. And with the increase of that, I think CRM is going to benefit. They last reported on May 27th, and the stock gapped up nicely. I mean, you could see it right here. This gap up to over here, literally, you just see two red bars here, but it gapped up about 12, 13 points on that pop. They announced that last time $1.21 crushed the 88 cents expected, edged forward on revenue, 5.96 billion ahead of the 5.89 billion expected. But here's where I like it. Coming into this quarter, they see 91 to 92 cents. That's ahead of the 85 cents expected. 6.22 to 6.23 billion. That is ahead of the 6.15 billion expected. Between then and now, I expect a lot of people using their software, a lot of conversion into online marketplaces. We even see some of the bigger companies doing it, Express, whatever. All these retailers, online presence has been critical for survival in the current COVID reopening environment even. So very important. They also raised their fiscal year 2022 earnings per share view on last quarter, 379 to 381. That's ahead of the 339 to 341 expected. So they've been raising across the board. I think it's a healthy environment for them. CRM going to be added to my list of stocks reporting Wednesday after the close. The next one is kind of funny because they ran into some issues and now it just feels like everything is better again. I'm going to talk about Ulta Salon because people are going out, people are buying makeup. Believe me, a lot of people have what's called COVID bodies. And again, just on a side note, so many of you guys have been pouring out and reaching out and sending me your support and sending me your love during this time of what's happening in my life. And I just want you guys to all know I don't respond to everyone, but I read every single one of them. And you guys uplift me. You guys take me to a better place mentally. And I just want you to know with everything that I'm going through that I absolutely love you guys for sending me your love and sending me your support and sending me your care. It means the world to me. So I just want you to know that. That's why I push myself to do these videos for you. It's like almost my indirect way of saying thank you. But of course, I love doing videos here too. All-time high on Ulta Salon 374.47. It's interesting to say that because literally during COVID crisis in March, the stock was down to $124. You see the stock coming back right now. It literally hit all-time highs last Friday, the Friday before last Friday, like a week from last Friday, 374.47. Taking a look here at Ulta Salon, their last earnings report was on May 27th, which is right over here. And you can see the stock had a wicked gap up, beautiful 15-point gap up plus 15-point gap up right there on Ulta on the last earnings report. They announced $4.10 a share. That's ahead of the $1.93 expected. 1.94 billion in revenue, ahead of the 1.64 billion in revenue. I don't know about you guys, but I watch Hulu. All I see is makeup commercials. Ironically, mostly with men. I see the majority of the makeup commercials I see now are mostly men, like men putting on makeup. And between obviously the higher sales come from women and everything with all the advertising and people trying to look good with their post or current COVID bodies, as they say, like you have a COVID bod, like which pretty much means you're probably home, not exercising as much, gaining weight. That is very common. That is the majority of the population. And going out and putting on some makeup and looking good and trying to feel good about yourself is a very big thing. They raised their earnings per share view on the last quarter, 11.50 to 11.95 per share. That's ahead of the $8.85 to $9.30 a share. I'll tell you, very rarely in my life do I see so many companies looking at the analyst expectations and just forget about edging them or beating them or missing them. They are just basically saying, You guys are not even in the same ballpark of where we're reporting. I mean, how off do these analysts have to be? They say they're going to make 7.7 to 7.8 billion. That's ahead of the 7.2 to 7.3 billion expected. It's a lot of money. That's half a billion. It's $500 million for we're not talking Microsoft or Apple. We're talking ULTA Salon. So they're destroying estimates. I think they're going to continue going. Would not be surprised to see a beautiful gap up in ULTA. ULTA, as a result, will be added to my challenge list. So again, the challenge list is basically is asking a question. Will you make money if you buy these names at the close and sell them at the opening price? Now, granted, a lot of people have their own strategies. Some people like to use a 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 30, 60-minute high or low and let the stocks try to ride out a little more. I'm trying to make this as brainless as possible. My argument is you're buying it at the closing price, you're selling it at the opening price, you move on. So I'm trying to make it simplistic. Granted, there's many ways you can, as they say in Yiddish, finagle the rules, but that's how I'm approaching it. The next name probably just barely made my list is going to be NetApp, NTAP. This one was rather close. They reported back on June 2nd, right over here on June 2nd, and what happened was they literally gapped down like 31 cents the next day and then exploded up. So again, if that was the case where I went long here, I would actually count that as a loss, even though it just went straight up. But just trying to keep it real. But on this net app here, they announced $1.17 versus $1.12 last quarter. That 1.56 billion versus the 1.5 billion expected. So they just slightly edged forward. For this coming quarter, they see 89 to 97 cents. The consensus was 87, so even at the low end, they beat 1.37 billion to 1.47 billion versus the 1.37 billion expected. So on their lowest end projections, they're going to meet consensus. Again, this one probably was my least favorite one on my list if we're just being real. But nonetheless, I'm going to give it a fair shot, just like I'm looking forward to giving it a fair shot, just like everything else. And as a result, NTAP, NTAP, November Tango Alpha Papa, making my list. To finish out Wednesday, we're going to move on to the next one on my list, and that's going to be Box. And that's Box Incorporated, Bravo Oscar X-Ray. A lot of weird things going on. There was takeover talks on these names on some of these days. There was, I think, Deal Reporter, if I remember, like a few months ago or whatever. But just looking at their earnings, it's kind of interesting because they literally gave an update to their earnings on August 12th. They just sort of came out of nowhere on August 12th and gave an update to their earnings, and the stock has fell a little since then, which is ironic because they raised their revenue view to 214 million versus 211.53 expected. They see the revenue coming up after that 218 to 219 million versus 215 million expected. Not my favorite, again, similar to NetApp, but barely made my list, and I'm just going to throw that in. So I'm trying to, again, doesn't mean these will or won't work, of course, but this is where I am. The next thing's now I'm going to move on to Thursday in order to play Thursday before the open. So when I say Thursday before the open, they're literally reporting Thursday before 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard. So if you wanted to play it, you'd have to buy it Wednesday before the close if you're following my methodology. And again, all these names that you see here will be listed in the description of this video. In the description of the video, I don't say when they're reporting, so I'm doing it through here. But we have 6 more names that I'm going to go through. And the next one, this one I think is going to be huge. This next one, Dollar General. Now, let me tell you what people are not talking about. People are not talking about all the food that all the reports of people buying their full grocery list at Dollar General. People have not, there's a large part of America that have been trying to stretch their dollar. There's a report of somebody, there's a report on somebody who shopped at Dollar General. They're like, look, I have $80 a week to spend on food, you know, married, two kids, four people. Try to feed four people for a week on $80. That is not an easy task. You cannot go to a Whole Foods or a regular shopping center and feed a family of four for $80 a week. I mean, my food bill, I could tell you, is massively higher than that. Massively. I think I spend more than $80 a day. Oh, not think. I know for a fact I spend more than $80 a day on food. Not for myself personally, for everyone, but like there's so many reports of people going buying frozen pizzas, frozen this, and literally feeding their families on very low budget items. And they're not the healthiest food, coming from somebody who grew up on food stamps and had to play with the funny money at the supermarket. I can tell you we didn't always get the healthiest foods, you know. There is a definitely correlation between the money you spend and uh, the healthiness of the food you get. Granted, you could always find vegetables and do it yourself, but I mean, when you're trying to feed a family on a low budget, calories are one of the most important things that you get to. So buying a frozen pizza for a dollar fifty is going to give you more calories than buying $1.50 worth of any fruit or vegetable. And that's just the unfortunate reality. Companies like Dollar General are going to thrive this quarter. I think this company is going to kill it. They announced last quarter $2.82. That's ahead of the 2.19 expected. They announced on May 27th, and you can see just a little modest $3 gap up right here on their last earnings report. 8.4 billion ahead of the 8.28. But check out this quarter. They said that for their full year 2021 earnings per share, they now see themselves making $9.50 to $10.20. That's ahead of the $8.80 to 9.50 consensus. They're going to raise their share repurchase view to 2.2 billion from 1.8 billion. So they're going to buy $400 million worth of more shares. So that's about what, million and a half, million, 1.7, 1.8 million more shares they're going to be buying of their own company this year. I just think this stock is set up to kill it. There's one, so yeah, definitely adding Dollar General to my list here, but I do want to mention one thing. I don't feel the same way about Dollar Tree, and I'm not sure which one will work or not. Dollar Tree is in a little bit of a different scenario. I think they're going to benefit as well. Obviously, they happen to be reporting on the same morning. So on Thursday morning, Dollar General and Dollar Tree are reporting. In terms of consensus numbers, outlook, share repurchase, I'm leaning towards the General over the Tree. That doesn't mean they'll work. I'm not sure if Dollar Tree misses, if that will drag Dollar General down or vice versa, so it's kind of a funny play from that perspective because even though I think they could both work, I'm not a fan of Dollar Tree. I'm a fan of Dollar General. So there's DG and DLTR. I'm going with the DG, just so we're clear. Next one on my list is a very interesting one. Is literally 1-800-Flowers, FLWS. And very interesting. I think this is especially during the COVID time, I think people are really going online and sending gifts to other people. I think calling 1-800-Flowers is a very, um, excuse me, is a very simple way to drop some money, show someone you care, and have it delivered to their door. I think this company is going to thrive. I think this company is going to show numbers that show that they're thriving in this environment. They last reported on April 29th, right over here. You can see the stock closed at 24.81 and opened up at 28.69. So massive gap up there. You could just see it right there on my chart from when they last reported. They last reported 2 cents a share. That was ahead of the loss, the consensus loss of 9 cents. They made 474.2 million. That's ahead of the 412.75 million expected for this quarter coming up this week. And again, they're reporting Thursday before the open. They are looking for 18 to 20 cents a share. That's ahead of the consensus of 9 cents. They raised their 2021 EPS $1.75 to $1.80. That's ahead of the $1.61 expected. And they're also increasing their stock repurchase program to 40 million. It was previously 30 million, so they're doing another $10 million. That shows me a lot when companies like to do these things, when they like to gobble up their own shares. And I think it's a big deal. As a result, Flowers, FLWS, making my list. Next is a very simple name, not the sexiest name, is JM Smuckers, SJM, that's Sandy Juliet Michael. And they last reported, again, not the sexiest name in the world. Last time they had a little 80 cent or whatever gap up right over here off their last report. $1.89 ahead of the $1.67 consensus. They made 1.92 billion, which edged ahead of the $1.88, or excuse me, the 1.88 billion expected. They see for fiscal year 2022, 870 to 910 per share. That's ahead of the 860 expected. So they've been raising their guidance. I think with the prices being raised and people going for comfort foods like peanut butter and jelly. I don't know if you guys have seen snackables. How many of you guys have seen those snackables? They're or crustables or whatever. They're these little cylindrical white breads with jelly and peanut butter inside, and they like cut the crust off, and they're in like these little cylindrical shapes. Have you guys ever had those before? They're awesome, and you can put them in your refrigerator or freezer. Like I haven't had them in a while, but I absolutely love those things. It's like literally a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's comfort food. Parents think that it's healthy for their kids, but nonetheless, it's healthier than some of the things that you could give your children out there. And comfort food for kids in this environment when parents are really fighting to take them away from the super duper heavy duty sugar overdosed snacks. Not saying that this has jelly has no sugar, obviously, but I think this company is going to do well. I think they're going to have a very good quarter, and as a result, SJM is making my list. All right, the next stocks are going to be Thursday after close. So you'd have to buy them on, if you're following my methodology, my challenge, you'd have to buy them Thursday before the close on these next ones. The first one I'm going to start off with is Gap. And I know it's going to be a heavy retail week. I'm watching Golf Papa Sandy bullishly. And Gap is a little bit of an interesting name. I almost feel like it's a discount brand that people love, and their clothes literally last forever type mentality. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the only way to get rid of a pair of Gap jeans is to throw them in the garbage, like, because these things just literally last forever. So they didn't really had a little 15-cent gap down on the last earnings report, so I mean they didn't exactly make it. They announced 48 cents a share. That was ahead of the loss of 5 cents, 4 billion in revenue, ahead of the 3.44 billion in revenue for fiscal year 2021, which is it's the last quarter I think they're reporting, right? No, September, October, November, maybe one more. They see $1.60 to $1.75 per share. It's ahead of the $1.38 expected. Again, with all the retail stuff going on, um, as a result, I'll be bullish in GPS prior to earnings. Just a couple more names here. The next one is going to be Hewlett Packard, and this is going to be an interesting one. With everyone, people don't know, but HPQ is they're the number one ink supplier, and not just for homes. I mean, when you go to the high-end digital printing presses like Indigo presses, things that you probably never heard of before that they have in the professional print shops, Heidelberg presses, well, Heidelberg presses, but you can use HPQ ink, but more for the digital presses. Um, on the HPQ, I think this company's going to crush it. They last reported on May 27th. They gapped down, just so we're clear. They gapped down about $1.60 on their last earnings report. I'm bullish on it. They announced 93 cents a share. That was ahead of 89 cents expected. 15.88 billion ahead of the 15 billion expected. They see for this coming quarter 81 to 85 cents. That's ahead of the 75 cents expected. And they raised their full year 2021 earnings per share view 340 to 350. That's ahead of 315 to 325. The consensus was 330, so they're saying 340 to 350. I think you're also going to get a surge in, they benefit from people working from home. They benefit from people coming back to the office. There's a lot of headlines, a lot of news headlines that I don't talk about, like, oh, IBM is going to allow people back to the office. Apple's going to allow people back to the office. This company is going to start allowing people back to the office. When I start hearing news like that, I'm like, all right, people are going to have to print so much shit. They're going to need all this HPQing. They're going to need all these products. And to me, it's just all these company reopenings on top of the positive guidance makes me very bullish in an HPQ. The last name here, the absolute last name is Friday before the open, which means you would have to buy again Thursday before the close. This is going to be the last name here. This is going to be Hibbett Sports, HIBB, maybe a name that a lot of people wouldn't be super familiar with. This one is really interesting. Feel me out on this one. They last reported on May 28th, which is right over here. The stock gapped up about $5.40 before falling, so that would have been a really nice trade if you were long and bought it at the close and sold at the open. They announced $5 a share. That was ahead of the $2.77 expected. They made 506.9 million in revenue ahead of the 412.92 million in revenue, so they basically crushed it by about 25%. They said, now this is the interesting thing. They raised their 2022 earnings per share view 8.50 to $9. That's ahead of the $5 to 5.50 expected. So they're just coming out one of these small specialty retail stores. I can't really tell you that I've stepped into a Hibbett store, or is it a brand? Like I'm not really sure. It's a sports brand, I guess similar to Dick's Sporting Goods, I think. But nonetheless, they started giving a dividend. They initiated a dividend on June 24th. This company is printing money. This company is printing money. They just started on June 24th. They just started giving a 25 cents a share dividend. Not the biggest dividend for an $85 stock per se, but big enough where you stop and you say, "Whoa, okay, this company is printing money," and they're at the point where they're just like, "Here, let's just give it back to the shareholders." So, very interesting name, very big name for earnings, in my opinion. You can see I have my entire list here. Maybe I should go ahead and put this actual list the way it is. You think that would be easier into the description of this video, so the people watching will have an easier time doing it. Let me just go ahead and add that in. I'm gonna update it. Okay. So I'm going ahead and I'm just going to put this whole list inside. Yeah, so that is pretty much my challenge. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 names between Monday and Friday. That's an average of what, 2.5 names a day, approximately. And yeah, the challenge is, can you buy these names right before the close and sell them right at the open, right after they report, and make money overall? So we're gonna see how this goes. We're gonna see exactly how this goes on next Friday, when we'll go over this again. But from the bottom of my heart, um, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, links in the description for everything you need for a free psychological toxicity ebook, how to overcome it, and a lot of other things, how to be part of our service. I hope you guys enjoyed this Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money. I'll see you guys next time on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Have a wonderful evening.